Hey everyone, I'm Ashes.
And I'm Will.
And this is Ashes and Will Do Disney.
Each week, one of us will tell the other the history, facts, and stories behind the rides and attractions of Disney that have made special memories for generations.
Keep in mind that Ashes and Will Do Disney is not affiliated with or employed by the Walt Disney Company, and our views and opinions do not reflect theirs.
Now it's time to sit back, relax, and put on your ears because it's time for Ashes and Will Do Disney. Oh, hey there, Ashes.
Hey babe, how are you doing?
Good. We are back from the holiday break, first
Yep.
episode of the new year.
Yep, pretty excited for it. It's been a hot minute.
It has, because, as we've mentioned before, we try to kind of record these in somewhat bulk and ahead of time. So for us, recording this episode, it's been a month since we've done anything because we recorded our Christmas episodes both on Black Friday.
Yeah, and now
So
it's all of December, 29th
it's the
currently?
29th, and by the time this airs, it will be 2022,
I know.
which is pretty crazy.
I even got a complaint from one fan that they missed us.
And that's okay. I will take that. I appreciate the love and support and the fact that we were missed. I'll take that.
I know.
Which is funny
thanks,
too.
Jessica, for missing us.
We didn't initially plan on taking Christmas and New Year's off. It just kind of worked out that way that Christmas was just absurdly busy.
I was drowning because I decided that I needed to make 1,000,000 Christmas gifts, which, is just me. Luckily, I have a great, wonderful friend of mine who helped me make some of my Christmas gifts basically, and made our matching Christmas family shirts that I basically just threw at her, and she made all of them.
She did.
And they turned out great, and super appreciate her for that one. So then in turn, another friend of mine was like, "Here, will you make these cups for me?" So then I took on making 5 more cups because why not?
Why not?
And I don't know, I think a couple more things got thrown in there, and cookies, but it's fine. It was a great Christmas.
We did it all, and we had one night, it was the Saturday before Christmas. We stayed up till like 2 a.m. wrapping presents. Just because we looked at it and went, if we don't stay up late and do these presents, we're not going to get it done in time for Christmas.
See, and that sentence there just makes me giggle because you're like, we stayed up so late till 2 a.m. wrapping presents. And
when you get up at 6:30 regularly, 2 a.m. is ridiculously late.
Yeah. When you regularly don't go to bed till 9 o'clock in the morning, 2 a.m. is just, 2 p.m. basically for me.
Well,
so.
I regularly go to bed about 10:30 or 11 at night, so...
I know. It just makes me laugh.
Yeah. But you got me, like, my Red Ryder BB gun present this year, and I talked plenty about it, but it was still a surprise because I think the conversations around it had kind of calmed down a little bit. So I was very surprised on Christmas morning to open it. But the backstory to this is when we were in Florida at the Airbnb, it was all Disney decor, and they had a Mickey Mouse teapot. And now this teapot was the black, red, and yellow to look like Mickey Mouse, and it had a Mickey Mouse on top of the lid. And I don't drink coffee anymore, I drink tea, so I use this teapot every day and really liked it and said I wanted one. And everything we could find, like, in the parks was the red, black, and yellow, but it was like the ceramic teapot where
there was nothing you could put on the stove.
It's nothing that I use because it's like you have to boil water separately to put in that teapot, which is, to me, just defeats the purpose.
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, so we didn't get that, and even our friend who was with us wanted to get me that one. She was like, "Look what I found, Ashes," and you're like, "Yeah, no.
I know.
So you found me one, though, that goes with our house decor a bit better than what the red, black, and yellow would do. And it was more the stainless steel. Still has the Mickey Mouse on the lid, but then it has Mickey Mouse silhouette indentations all over it.
Yep, it's pretty cute. You'll have to post a picture of it so
Yep,
everybody
I will
knows.
definitely post a picture so people can see
Of
it.
your Red Ryder BB gun,
That
Mickey
was my Red
Mouse,
Ryder BB gun. I was
Mickey
so
Mouse
happy to get
teapot,
that.
because getting older is just so exciting. You get a Mickey Mouse teapot,
Yep.
but yeah, let me tell you, I had to go searching to find a teapot.
I mean,
Like,
and you
it
pulled
was
it
not an
off
easy
because it's
feat,
great,
but
and I
yeah,
absolutely love it.
I'm glad. I know you got me an upgraded pretty Mickey, uh, well, wedding ring, I guess. I
Yep.
mean, not, you know, whatever. It's clearly not our wedding ring, but I guess it's our wedding ring.
Well,
Seeing as,
considering for somehow your wedding ring after we moved into the new house, like I'm sure it's here somewhere,
yep,
but you've looked for it. I've looked for it. We can't find it.
it's been like a year and a half almost since I've seen it.
I mean, and
So,
I've moved your nightstand where it fell off from. I've lifted up the bed. We just can't find
I
it.
mean, I'm assuming like one day it'll just show
It'll
up,
randomly just show up out of nowhere,
but
but I figured you were due for something to kind of replace it in the
I
meantime.
know you
So
genuinely surprised me. I was
I
very
did.
impressed.
I got you the Mickey Mouse. It's from Shop Disney. It's a Mickey Mouse rose gold ring with the three diamonds in it, one larger diamond and two smaller ones to make the Mickey silhouette.
It's very pretty.
So, and I'm glad you liked it.
I do like it. Um,
So,
Although I have to say, literally, I'm not gonna lie, my favorite part of Christmas was seriously watching
oh
Encanto.
my gosh, I was just about to bring it up. Encanto, if you have not watched it, watch Encanto. I've seen it online. I was telling you about this the other day where there doesn't seem to be a middle ground for this movie of, oh yeah, it was good. It was a good movie. It's either people are like, this movie stunk. I didn't like the songs. Some people have complained that there's too much singing. I mean, it's advertised as a musical.
I mean, have they not seen any other Disney musicals?
Right. I mean, I'll give it. The singing was less spaced out in this, but it
I
was
mean,
advertised as a musical.
I don't feel like it was any more singing than like literally any other Disney musical,
I
though.
don't think there were more songs in it. I just think the songs were less spaced out, which to me was fine because we're on the side of people who are like, this movie was wonderful. This is one of the best Disney movies that I think I've seen
I literally don't
in a
think there's
while.
one flaw in this movie,
It's
and
phenomenal. I
everyone
love the
who says
songs.
otherwise, I will throat punch because they're wrong.
And you know what I think I was really liking about it? And I realized it when someone had made the comment on Facebook that they were like, there wasn't really a villain in the movie. And there's not.
No, there's
Which
really not.
and
Which
which
actually,
I
you know
think that's
what?
why I liked
I
it.
did not think about that.
Yeah, and I think that's why I actually really liked it. To me, that made it a little bit more original that the conflict wasn't between a hero and a villain. There's a conflict in the movie.
Yeah, but it's not.
There's not just this set
I
definitive
mean,
villain. There's an antagonist, but it's
yeah,
not a villain.
yeah, because like there's the conflict with Abuela, but it's not. She's by no means a villain.
Absolutely not. And I think that's actually what I did really like about it was that there wasn't some big massive we have to defeat this villain.
Yeah,
I think it was more so just a really good family movie and I love the songs. Absolutely love the
I
songs.
absolutely loved it, and like literally anyone who knows me knows that I seriously have the attention span of a squirrel. Like, I don't pay attention well. I cannot watch a movie to save my life.
You have a hard time just sitting down for a movie.
I have a hard time sitting down literally just to do anything,
But you had us
typically.
pause parts of the movie if you had to get up because you didn't want to miss something important
I
in what was going
seriously
on.
have watched this movie like 4 times now.
No, the kids have watched it every day since we watched it on
Yeah,
Christmas.
I will literally sit and watch this movie and watch most of it, and like I'm not even like playing on my phone.
No,
Like, I am actually just watching it, which I mean sounds like oh, congrats, you sat and watched a movie, but legit,
for you that's a
like,
big deal.
this is such a big deal for me. I literally love this movie so much, and I'm not tired of it.
Nope.
Like, I still want to watch it again tomorrow.
Yep, I'm planning on watching it with the kids tomorrow night because you're working for a little bit. So I'm going to watch it so I can just sit and watch it.
Yep. And thank God the kids are not tired of it yet, because I'm like, yeah, so we're still going to watch this.
And they were listening to the soundtrack all day today. Like, the kids got up this morning and came downstairs, and I said, look, you can't watch Encanto until Mom gets up. She wants to watch it with you. And our oldest wasn't up yet, but our two littler ones were like, man, I wanted to watch it with breakfast. So, nope, you gotta wait. You gotta wait for Mom this time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Absolutely wonderful. So, I recommend it. Can't say enough good things about it. Literally one of the best Disney movies I've seen in a while. Disney doesn't usually disappoint me, but like this one was like a wow moment. It was such a good movie.
I completely agree.
Yeah. And then I watched the first episode of Book of Boba Fett, the new Star Wars show on Disney Plus.
Ooh.
So if you are a Star Wars fan, then it was a little slow to start. I think it'll get better, but it does throw back some nostalgia. It shows you how Boba Fett was in The Mandalorian too, which he was a character from the original Star Wars movies. And it shows you basically how he survived, so that's pretty cool to see. Gives you a little bit of a throwback. So, if you like Star Wars, not a bad little check out. I feel like,
sounds great.
yeah, I'm just going to say Jon Favreau. I mean, he's done a lot of movies. Like he did The Jungle Book, the reimagined live action, I guess. It only really had a couple of actual people. He did The Lion King, things like that. And he's he did The Mandalorian, and he's doing the Book of Boba Fett. And I tend to agree of let Jon Favreau take over doing Star Wars, like including the new movies coming up, and we might get some better product from it.
Cool.
All right. So with that, what do you have for me for a quiz?
Okay, so I guess now it's 2022, at least when everyone's listening to this.
Yep.
So it means it's the new year.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I would do a New Year's like quiz for you.
Okay.
Not some trivia today, spicing it up for you.
Okay. All right.
Since you're starting off the new year with an episode, Don't worry, you can still do a New Year's quiz for me or whatever you find next week, and I'm sure I will still complain about whatever my answer is.
Yep, because you tend to answer the wrong way and not get. It was 3 in a row. I think you didn't like your result.
I mean, I'm still not over Thanksgiving, so
I know. I think we're going to hear about Thanksgiving I wouldn't even say up to next Thanksgiving. I think like you'll still talk about it on the next Thanksgiving quiz I give you.
probably and beyond.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while.
I know.
And I'm still a little bit mad that I didn't get the ducky on my...
I had the duck and the teddy bear.
Yeah, we don't got to talk about that, okay?
You brought it up.
All I said was I'm bitter about it, Will.
That's bringing it up.
Okay, are you ready for this?
I am.
So this is from Disney Rewards.
Disney Rewards, okay.
So if you want your Visa Chase Disney Rewards card, not an ad, but apparently on their website they also have quizzes.
They have quizzes, okay.
Which, I don't quite know how that works, but
let's
whatever.
Just go with
it was
it,
an
though.
amusing quiz. So, what's your Disney New Year's resolution? Your ideal New Year's Eve celebration involves cooking up a gourmet meal, hitting the road, going to a wild party, making plans for the year to come, watching the ball drop, or enjoying my staycation.
You said staycation?
Yes.
That one.
That's what
enjoying
I said.
My staycation.
Okay. What have you been putting off this year? Home improvement, learning a new language, joining a club, starting a business, writing a book, or taking more me time?
Is taking more me time? Granted, during the holidays, I've been binge watching Cobra Kai again to get ready for the next season. So, but of all those, I guess taking more me time.
Well, I already hit the button.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just saying the choices weren't phenomenal, but I guess of them, that's the one.
Yeah, I gotta say, of the one part of the one episode of Cobra Kai I saw, well, that was weird.
It's phenomenal. It's not Disney, but it's phenomenal.
Sure.
And I met William Zabka once.
The one episode of Cobra Kai I saw was him being like, I don't know how to use the internet.
Yeah. That's
It
kind
was
of the whole
weird.
running joke.
Eh. Which Disney character quote would you wear on a t-shirt?
Okay.
Honey, where's my super suit at?
Okay.
From Frozone.
Yep.
I'm not tiny, I'm travel-sized. Mushu. I have just met you and I love you. Doug. Just keep swimming. Dory. To infinity and beyond. Buzz Lightyear. Or Muscle Up Buttercup. Maui.
I'm going to have to give it to Frozone.
Sounds good.
I love The Incredibles.
You do love The Incredibles.
I mean, I put The Incredibles in like favorite, not just Pixar movies, but like superhero movies.
Oh, speaking of things you love, sidetrack for 2 seconds, because again, attention span of a squirrel,
Yeah.
clearly. So Sonia gave me Tiana socks for Christmas, and I felt like it was just like straight like she might as well have just given you Tiana socks, except for they're really not going to fit you. So then I know that like the girls are just going to steal Tiana socks.
Oh, yeah,
So,
probably then.
I mean, I feel like it was a nice gesture, but I was like, by no means was there even like a chance that I would actually get to keep
That they're yours, yeah.
these socks. Yeah. It was really nice.
Okay.
But I was like, ugh, just wasn't going to work for me.
All right.
Anyways, if you found a magic lamp right now, what would your first wish be? Super strength, the gift of flight, VIP status on every guest list, more wishes, the ability to time travel, or nap time every day.
Ooh. Hmm.
I know our friend Erica would say nap time every day because she literally gives me a hard time because all I do is like go consistently, like run until I basically die.
Mm-hmm.
And she's really good at napping, and I'm not.
I'm going to have to say,
So I picked nap time for me.
I think I would do time travel just so I could go kind of see some people we miss.
See the world.
See people we miss, not the world. I mean, sure, the world, but
you're like, no, people.
yeah,
That makes sense.
People we haven't been able to see because of unfortunate circumstances.
I like that. That's good. I picked napping, so now I feel like a jerk. But literally, I got yelled at today for it being my flip day, and she's like, "So are you to do a whole bunch of things today?" And I was like, "I mean, yeah, probably." She's like, "Seriously?" And I was like, So I picked napping.
All right.
Because I thought I should nap, but now I just feel like a jerk because you're like, I'm going to go visit past loved ones. So thanks a lot, Will.
Yeah, well.
As you reflect on past year, your favorite memory is learning something new about yourself, an amazing vacation, spending some quality time with someone special, earning recognition at work, getting lost in a story, or laughing so hard you cried.
I'm going to go with the amazing vacation because that covers laughing so hard that I cried.
Exactly.
And spending time with people that were special.
I agree.
So that's going to be the Disney World vacation for the past year.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to this year? Starting a new hobby, a summer getaway, being more social, working out, chronicling my adventures, or finding my inner zen?
That's a tough one.
I know.
Let's go with zen.
Okay. I said working out.
Yeah. I mean, working out will help me get to the zen thing, though, so.
Yeah. Okay, pick your New Year's anthem. Try Everything, Zootopia. Just Around the River Bend, Pocahontas. You've Got a Friend in Me, Toy Story. Whistle While You Work, Snow White. When You Wish Upon a Star, Pinocchio. Or Let It Go, Frozen.
What was the first choice? Try everything?
Yeah.
Let's go with that one.
That was the one I picked. You got the same as me. Our New Year resolution.
Is that the first time we've gotten the same result?
I don't know.
It's at least a rare time we've gotten the same result.
Look, well, I'm lucky if I remember what I did like 20 minutes
I
ago. Our New Year resolution is don't sweat the small stuff. It's a jungle out there, but that doesn't mean you have to roar about it. Let Akuna Matata be your problem-free philosophy this year to help you beat stress and let go of your worries. Unwind, take it easy, and have a little fun with pride. Now that you've got your Disney resolution for the new year, share it online to inspire others. So, I thought that was kind of fun.
That's a good one. I liked that one.
Well, good.
All right. You ready for this week?
I am ready. What do you have to start the new year off with?
So I decided to start the new year with something you have been asking me to do for a while.
Bob Iger?
No.
Oh.
Not Bob Iger.
Okay.
So we've talked about him several times in episodes and some of his ideas and how a lot of his ideas weren't bad ideas but didn't necessarily fit the Disney mold. Really? You got no clue? Think along the lines of CEOs.
Michael Eisner?
Yeah, we're going to do Michael Eisner today.
Okay.
Now, Michael Eisner, I mean, man, literally this episode is just going to be kind of a like scratch the surface, like very brief history of him.
Yeah.
I'll probably do other episodes on Michael Eisner just because there's so much to it and like certain aspects that I'll talk about. There's so much more detail to it that you literally can't just fit it into one episode like that.
Yeah.
So we'll be just kind of doing the history of Michael Eisner and his time as CEO. But down the road, I'll probably do more where I focus more on a specific area.
I'm actually really excited about this.
I know you are. You've been asking me to do it for a while.
I have. I want you to do all of them, which probably sounds like nerdy and boring to other people, but the bits that you've told me, I just know how, like, it's not boring and it's so dramatic.
It is. It's dramatic.
And it's just crazy the amount of, like, history that's got, like, and stuff that's gone into everything with, like, running this company. And to me, this is far more entertaining than Star Wars.
All right. You ready for Michael Eisner?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. About a week before Thanksgiving in 2003, Roy E. Disney, son of Roy O. Disney and nephew of Walt Disney, pulled into the parking lot of the Disney Studios in his space next to Michael Eisner's. Roy did not like the corporate headquarters that Eisner had designed. Even though it had the Seven Dwarves as its base, Roy felt that the building represented everything about the company that was wrong at the hands of Michael Eisner. Roy was the reason that Eisner had been brought into the company 20 years prior. But now Walt's nephew had distanced himself from Eisner and the rest of the top executives. Roy had felt like he had been stabbed in the back by Michael Eisner. Prior to coming to Disney, Michael Eisner saw great success with ABC and Paramount. As time went on, Roy started to believe that the shining resume of success Eisner had was not of his own ideas, but rather with the help of partnerships. Roy felt that once Eisner had to take on Disney without the help of others, the company had suffered. The then CEO of Disney seemed to cling to his power of the company in almost dictatorial fashion, believing that he alone had the creative prowess to take Disney in the right direction. Roy had a different belief. He thought that Eisner was only a poser and pretending that he was Walt Disney. Roy didn't understand why every successor wanted to be the next Walt Disney and not the first of their own. Many had tried to embody Walt in different areas of the company, and they had all been replaced. Roy felt Eisner was finally starting to overstep his bounds, and it was time to put an end to his shenanigans. While Roy E. Disney didn't try to be Walt, he was the one who was entitled to the legacy. He had been presented to the public as the embodiment of the company, and he was the last remaining staff member with the Disney name. Although a month prior, Eisner had been praising Roy's name and his work on the mission space ride, his complimentary attitude had been a disguise for his rising hostility towards Roy. At this point in the game, Roy had stopped attending Eisner's weekly meetings and lunches. He had lost his trust in Eisner when Eisner had allegedly sent a spy to work next to Roy in animation, constantly reporting back to Eisner everything Roy said and did. They had made it to a point to avoid each other at the premiere of Brother Bear, a movie that Roy felt was subpar for the Disney brand.
Agreed.
It wasn't the best. And the kids keep seeing it. They have it on Zenimation. There's little snippets from Brother Bear, and the kids are like, "Oh, what's that? That's Brother Bear? Cool, we should watch that." I'm like, "Yeah, we should," and we haven't yet.
Yeah, that's one they can turn on when we're watching something else.
Yeah, you know.
I don't think it'll keep their attention.
Probably not. When Roy's mother and aunt had been awarded legend status and Roy accepted the award on the family's behalf, Eisner didn't even show up.
Wow, rude.
It was. And this was the catalyst that sparked the conversations that the man with the Disney name and the CEO of the company were not on speaking terms. So on this day in November, Roy met with John Bryson, the head of the Nominating and Governance Committee for the Disney Board of Directors. During this meeting, Bryson informed Roy that he was past the retirement age, which didn't typically apply to board members. The board didn't want Disney to run for re-election, but offered to make him an honorary director for life, and basically still wanted to use his name and have him show up for special events. Basically, we don't want you unless it looks good.
Okay.
Right. I mean, Roy felt like it was just a means to essentially be their puppet. And they were just going to use his name to keep things going nice and draw attention to it.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about that one.
Yeah. So Roy told Bryson they were making a mistake and they were going to regret it. Roy was not going to step down quietly.
Good for him.
No, I mean, it is good for him. Like, why would he?
Yeah.
So how did we get here? How did one man with the backing of the Disney name get to the point of making an enemy out of Walt and Roy O's bloodline? You've got this man who is the CEO of the company, and he's made an enemy out of Disney, basically.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how we got there. On September 24th, 1984, a 42-year-old Michael Eisner woke up to start his first day as the chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company. This happened quickly. Just the Saturday before, the board had elected him to run the company and had elected Frank Wells, a former head at Warner Brothers, as the COO. Roy had just let a swerve in the boardroom that ousted Walt's son-in-law, Ron Miller, from the company. Disney, as a company, was known for not firing people. Most studios hired crews for the run of a production and then they were let go, but not at Disney. Disney was known for its longevity of employees and using crews in-house for its productions. Eisner and Wells decided that was going to change, although on the first day they reassured nervous employees that they had nothing to worry about. Michael Eisner knew very little about Disney when he took over the job, and was relieved that during interviews they hadn't asked him much about his knowledge of the company or its product. Eisner himself stated in his autobiography that had Disney not been in danger of being acquired under Ron Miller, he wouldn't have passed the test and wouldn't have gotten the job. So basically, Eisner has pretty much admitted that it was pure luck that Disney was already in danger and they didn't like Ron Miller and they were desperate to get someone new in there quickly.
I mean, I guess he got lucky.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because he clearly was not like a good fit. I mean,
that's not completely true. I mean, he was CEO for quite a while. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, though.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about Michael Eisner's career leading up to Disney. Eisner had 2 short stints with NBC and CBS. After that, Barry Diller had hired Eisner as the assistant to the national programming director. As Eisner moved through the ranks of the company, he eventually became the senior vice president in charge of programming development. This was with ABC.
Gotcha.
In 1976, Barry Diller, who had moved on to the board at Paramount, brought Eisner in as the president and COO of the movie studio. During his time there, Paramount produced movies like Saturday Night Fever, Grease, and the Star Trek film franchise. When Diller left Paramount, Eisner assumed that he would be taking over as head of the company, but he was passed over, so he started looking for another company to work for. He started to really work towards becoming the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Eisner had basically said he wouldn't take a job with Disney unless it was as CEO. When he took over the company as CEO, he picked Jeffrey Katzenberg as the Walt Disney Studios chairman. A couple of years after he took over as CEO, Eisner became the host of The Wonderful World of Disney, a show that had been revived after Card Walker had canceled it the year before because he felt like it was going to compete with the newly formed Disney Channel. And Wonderful World of Disney, that was a show...
I was like, I remember that.
Yeah, it usually aired on things like ABC. It aired on other channels that weren't owned by Disney at the time.
We've talked about it in other episodes.
Yeah, and so that's why it had been canceled, though, initially, because they had launched the Disney Channel, and they didn't want to run their programming essentially on competing networks when they had their own network.
I mean, I get that.
Yeah. So now the show only ever had two hosts, Michael Eisner and Walt Disney himself.
Yeah.
This is not to say that Eisner was the first and only choice for the job. They had tried to audition and hire someone else to host the classic anthology series, but no one seemed to work out. The company had looked at Julie Andrews, a.k.a. Mary Poppins.
I mean, that would have been cool.
Right? Dick Van Dyke, and even Cary Grant. And they had actually approached Cary Grant and offered him the job, but he turned it down. The executive in charge of bringing the show back brought the name after name to Eisner as potential host, but Eisner rejected them all for one reason or another. It was even reported that Tom Hanks, who starred in Touchstone's Splash, was actually interested in hosting the program. Eisner said Tom Hanks was too young and dismissed the idea.
Oh.
Right. Did you ever see Splash?
I was like, Tom Hanks is... I don't even think I ever saw Splash, but I was like, of all the things Tom Hanks has been in, like, Splash is what...
Well, at that time, that was what he had just starred in.
Gotcha. I was like,
So he co-starred alongside Daryl Hannah, and it was about a mermaid who came to land, had her legs, and...
I mean, I think I vaguely, like, recall seeing, like, previews for it or... little glimpses. But
yeah, the main thing I remember about that movie...
span.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. I remember there's a point where, like, she's in the bathtub and, like, her tail is there because she's wet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But the main thing I remember about this movie is, like, the beginning portions of it when she first comes to land and has her legs. Like, she's a mermaid, so she doesn't have any clothes on.
Yes.
And so there's a point where she's walking in and, like, she walks into some, like, tourist group. And, like, there's a park ranger or something, like, describing a monument. Again, it's been years since I've seen it. But he's in the middle of doing his spiel about the history of some landmark. And all of a sudden he yells, "Bocce balls!" And, like, the camera pans over to her and she doesn't have clothes on. So, like, everybody's all excited that there's this naked woman walking around. And they're trying to take pictures with her and stuff. And because I was young and that was awesome that she was walking up like that, that's the big thing I remember from that movie.
Remember that time your mom was like, "Well, wanted to be a priest?"
Yeah. All right. So Eisner says that Tom Hanks is too young for A Wonderful World of Disney. Because all these names kept coming to him, and Eisner saying no for one reason or another, this led Eisner to believe that he was the only man for the job.
I mean, clearly.
And he was just going to have to do it himself. He told Frank Wells, "I don't want to do it, but I guess I'll have to do it." Eisner felt that the CEO of the company also needed to be the face of the company, much like Walt Disney was. His mentality was that this needed to happen to show the public that the Walt Disney Company wasn't being run by the ghost of Walt. In taking over the job of hosting The Wonderful World of Disney, this added to his role in the company. He was no longer just the top executive, he was now the public face of the company on top of it. Eisner had only ever been in the management role. He had never been a performer, and the company executives did not believe he could handle the hosting job and make it something special. He filmed a test video with his wife, Jane, and a member of his executive team. The test took multiple takes, and even in the final product, Eisner was described as stiff and awkward. Eisner spoke too fast, he emphasized the wrong words, and apparently even looked fat.
Oh, rude.
His own wife was even critical of the performance. Disney executives deemed the test a failure, but Eisner was stubborn and insisted on doing the part even though no one had any confidence that he could.
In all fairness, I wouldn't give his wife a hard time. Like, I'd probably be the one who's being like,
I mean, I figure if someone needs to be, like, radically candid with you,
yeah.
it can be your spouse.
Like, that's, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't listen to anybody. So an acting coach was hired to help Eisner. He changed his wardrobe. He rehearsed his deliveries. At one point, he suggested changing his name to Mickey as a means to help the public identify him with the company. No one was sure that he was serious. Even though the improvements weren't much, Eisner argued that Walt himself wasn't that smooth either. He told Katzenberg that his decision was final and that he was going to host the show. Katzenberg realized in that moment that Eisner saw himself as Walt's heir.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, yeah.
So not just a successor in the company, but like directly like, I am the next Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Why are you taking pictures? What are you doing?
Oh, the dogs are sleeping together in the dog bed. It's really cute. I just wanted to take a quick picture.
Yeah, but you got to pay attention too.
I am. They're just cute.
Okay. During the second half of the 80s and the early 90s, Eisner actually showed a revival with Disney. This started with Who Framed Roger Rabbit and The Little Mermaid, an idea that Eisner had originally criticized. It was believed that The Little Mermaid would be too similar to Splash. I mean, it's a mermaid story where she goes on land and gets legs.
Okay, I mean, I was about to give him credit for, like, criticizing Little Mermaid, but...
So the way it was criticized, too, was...
It's a cartoon versus, like...
a live action. But so the way this was initially, like, passed on was Michael Eisner he called it his Gong show sessions, where essentially he'd get everybody together and they'd just present their ideas. And if he liked it, he said, cool, we'll look at it. And if he didn't like it, he would say gong, because that was how the Gong show worked. When you do your act, if they didn't like it, they whacked the gong and took you off the stage.
Okay.
So that was what he would do.
But he didn't actually get a gong?
No, he didn't actually get a gong. He would just say gong. And that would basically tell someone I didn't like it. And the person who had the idea for Little Mermaid had gone out to, like, I think he went to the library. And he was looking through things and came across the Hans Christian Andersen stories and saw the Little Mermaid. And he was like, let's do it. And they were like, gong. So, that's how that was initially passed on, but eventually they obviously did it, and it was a big hit.
Oh.
Disney also expanded into more adult entertainment with the acquisition of Miramax, and under Eisner, Disney also acquired ABC, most of ESPN, and Fox Family, which is now Freeform, and the Muppets franchise. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Fox Family and how that acquisition, while at the time initially was like, cool, look what he acquired, wasn't all it was cracked up to be.
Fox Family?
Fox, which is now Freeform.
Oh, okay.
That it was Fox Family when they bought it. Then it became ABC Family and became Freeform.
You know, I don't know if I ever knew it as Fox Family. I knew it as, like, the Disney...
Well, because it was ABC Family
or
for
ABC
a long
Family.
Time,
I knew it as ABC Family, but I never knew
when they bought it, it was Fox Family.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, now you do.
Yeah.
In the early part of the 1990s, Eisner set in motion his plan for the Disney decade. As part of his vision, there would be new parks around the world, expansions on existing parks, new films, and new media investments. While some of the initiatives were completed, many were not. One of the completed projects that proved to be a massive disappointment in the beginning was Euro Disney, which is now Disneyland Paris.
Yeah.
This park was way over budget and attendance was low. Eisner approached Euro Disney based off the reaction to Tokyo Disney. And Tokyo Disney, like,
totally
different
fan base.
Yeah, the demographic there, the natives and the locals were like, yes, this is awesome. We'll wait in line, we'll wait in the cold, but we just want to go have the Disney experience.
Completely different culture.
Right. And what Eisner hadn't anticipated was that the Euro Disney market didn't care as much to do touristy things in their own country.
Yeah, not at all.
Right. And the locals weren't willing to wait in lines like the Tokyo market.
Yeah.
In 1993, Jeffrey Katzenberg pushed to become Eisner's second in command, but Eisner stated that Frank Wells would feel hurt in that scenario because that would have moved him from president to vice chairman. Sadly, in 1994, Frank Wells died in a helicopter crash.
Oh.
Katzenberg was passed over for his position. As a result, Katzenberg resigned from the company. At the time of his resignation, Eisner refused to pay Katzenberg his bonus, even though Katzenberg agreed to settle for only $60 million, which was far less than what his actual bonus was supposed to be.
I mean, let me go cry for these people real
I know,
quick.
right? But Eisner wouldn't settle for the $60 million and was refusing it. And as a result, Katzenberg took Eisner to court, and the court ruled in Katzenberg's favor. Now,
and this is like $60 million in the 90s.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So the final settlement, though, since Eisner wouldn't agree to the $60 million, was $280 million,
Hoo-hoo.
which was way more than what Katzenberg was willing to accept to not go to court.
Wow.
So a lot of people kind of looked at Eisner and went, man,
You're an
you
idiot.
could have given him $60 million and he would have gone away. Now you owe him $280 million. Jeffrey Katzenberg went on to form DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen.
Okay.
You know, DreamWorks, they've done like Shrek.
Yeah. Yep. Lots of stuff.
Yeah. After the death of Wells and the departure of Katzenberg, Eisner looked to his friend Michael Ovitz to take over as president of the company. He selected Ovitz without much input from the board of directors. Ovitz would only last 14 months with the company due to disdain from other Disney executives and a lack of support from Eisner. Ovitz had gone to Eisner's house for dinner, where he'd gone many times and had fun with him and his wife, Jane. But when he walked into the dining room this time, the tension in the room was thick. Executives Sandy Litvak and Steve Bolenbach bluntly told Ovitz they would never work for him. And while he expected Eisner to defend him, he didn't. And Eisner stated that he told Ovitz that Litvak and Bolenbach would still report to Eisner per their contract and wouldn't actually be reporting to Ovitz. So basically, here's this guy who's supposed to have like a pretty high position in the company and be in charge. And top executives are already saying, we're not reporting to you. And Eisner's going, yeah, they're not. And I told you that.
Awkward.
So Ovitz left the company in 1996. Now, again, this is just glossing over the surface of the issues here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, again, down the road, I will do something that's way more detailed. But this started to prompt the Save the Disney campaign and leading to Michael Eisner's retirement from Disney.
Gotcha.
On November 30th, 2003, Roy E. Disney resigned from his position as Disney Vice Chairman and the head of Disney Animation. Disney cited too much micromanagement, flops at the ABC network, not enough vision going into the theme park side of the business, the feeling that the company had become soulless, and Eisner would not put a succession plan in place for when he was done with the company.
Wow, soulless.
Yep.
What a sad, sad way to describe Disney.
Yeah, and basically, too, he just wasn't really prepping anybody to be the next CEO of the company for when he was done.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't endorsing anybody to take over when he was done. So, in addition to movies that didn't do well, such as Emperor's New Groove and Treasure Planet,
Oh,
yeah, these are movies that do
okay,
have a
rude.
pretty loyal fan base.
I
But
like both of those like a lot.
yeah, I do too.
Actually, you know what? Have we watched Emperor's New Groove with the kids though?
I honestly don't know.
I don't know, but we need to because that one is good.
It's a good movie. It has a loyal fan base, but they were flops at the time. Like, they didn't do well.
Makes me sad. Those are both good.
Yeah. But one of the biggest issues was the fallout with Pixar.
Yeah, that one's kind of important.
Yeah. And Pixar had collaborated with Disney to put out movies like Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo.
Yeah, kind of big.
Yeah. And so the basic fallout, aside from just not being able to come to an agreement on a deal to produce more movies, Eisner had essentially made statements against pirate media content, or pirating media content. At the time, downloading and streaming was becoming a bigger machine, and Apple had developed their platform to legally purchase content to download.
Yeah.
Now keep in mind, Steve Jobs was in charge of Apple.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs was also a big part of Pixar.
Oh, yep.
Now, Eisner, while Disney was still in business with Pixar, had publicly criticized the platform as a means to pirate content. Again, you had to pay for the content through Apple. You had to buy what you were downloading. You couldn't just do it. And here's Michael Eisner basically telling people that publicly, the owner of this company, who I'm also in collaboration with to make movies, he's doing something that will allow people to steal the very content he's helping us produce.
I mean, not...
Yeah, and that's not at all what was happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's publicly telling people that Steve Jobs has created a platform to steal media content. And basically, like, he's producing movies with us, and he's also producing something that will help people steal those movies. So that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. Steve Jobs said that he wouldn't do any more work with Disney if Eisner was in charge. On March 3rd, 2004, at the annual shareholders' meetings, 43% of the board members withheld their proxy votes to re-elect Eisner as a member of the board. The board gave his position to George Mitchell, but they did not immediately remove him from his position as CEO. About a year later, in March of 2005, Eisner announced that he would step down as CEO, 1 year before his contract was set to expire. At this point, he passed the day-to-day duties to Bob Iger. During this time, Iger had been Disney's president and COO, and the board had selected him as the CEO designate, essentially the interim CEO until a new one was selected.
Yeah.
Eisner did not initially endorse Iger as his successor, but the board was pressuring him to resign. Eisner has stated that had it not been Iger taking over, then he wouldn't resign. On September 30th, Eisner officially resigned as a member of the board and as CEO. Obviously, this isn't just the end of Michael Eisner. He's done with Disney, but he's done things after Disney.
Yeah.
In October of 2005, Eisner was a guest host for The Charlie Rose Show. He interviewed John Travolta, and his ex-boss, Barry Diller. CNBC executives were impressed with his hosting abilities, and they hired him to his own show, Conversations with Michael Eisner, where he mainly interviewed CEOs, political leaders, artists, and musicians. The show was canceled in 2009. But he did have an investment firm that has funded the successful Netflix show, BoJack Horseman.
Oh,
I've never watched an episode of it.
I've never watched it, but I've definitely, seen it on Netflix.
Yeah, for sure. And in 2017, Eisner's investment firm took over ownership of the Portsmouth Football Club in England. The club had fallen on hard times due to years of poor ownership. Even though Eisner did a lot to stabilize the struggling Disney company in his early years as the CEO, His later years were the subject of much criticism. Mainly starting with Euro Disney, Eisner was seen as reckless with his spending. When they bought Fox Family, again now Freeform, there was a lot of trouble getting content for the channel up and running, which meant they were showing reruns of just a lot of stuff that hadn't been made before.
Excuse me, their Harry Potter weekends were amazing.
That was not on Fox Family.
Oh, that wasn't until
that was
later?
ABC Family.
Fine.
That was also well before Harry Potter movies were even made.
Oh, that was way back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. All I know is by the time they got the Harry Potter weekends on there, those were great.
Yeah, but they didn't have all that to rely on. They were playing reruns of a lot less successful shows. So the acquisition of Fox Family was seen as a $1 billion mistake.
Well, bummer.
Despite the criticism, his successes still can't be ignored. In 2006, Disney's corporate headquarters in Burbank was renamed to Team Disney, the Michael D. Eisner Building. So I did go on to find a quick cast member story.
Oh, that's fun.
Because I wanted to see, I was like, is there anybody who worked for Michael Eisner that wanted to talk about him?
Yeah.
So there was a question that was online that asks, did Michael Eisner stifle the growth of the company? And I found a story from Russell Stewart. And he says, I only met him a couple of times at board meetings. I was running the PowerPoint while the president of my division talked. The last time was late in his tenure, and his departure was already announced. He always seemed cranky and didn't hang out and chat before or after. Iger, on the other hand, went out of his way to greet everyone and is just a pleasant guy overall. Eisner seemed burned out his last few years at the company, and I had heard that his crappy attitude was a roadblock to acquisitions. So yeah, late in his tenure, I think he stifled the growth by fighting with potential partners, being a bit of a jerk, and getting obsessed with things like parking garage design.
Oh, jeez.
Just a couple miscellaneous thoughts that always stuck out to me when I was reading stories about Eisner, or at least this one main one. One of the contention points between Roy E. Disney and Michael Eisner came with the push to do Fantasia 2000. Eisner already didn't think it would be great, but Roy had been pushing for it. So Eisner had this idea of the princesses and their princes in a royal procession presenting their children. Roy hated the idea because if they had children, that would imply that the princesses and princes would have had to have done something to get those children. And Roy felt that that wasn't family friendly. To which my thought on that was that's...
I mean...
While I don't necessarily care about seeing a royal procession of all of them presenting their kids, I am also but all these characters also have parents.
I mean, yeah.
So, where did they come from if they have parents and their children too? Come on.
However, I did like the Fantasia 2000 or whatever. I like Fantasia. So.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is at the times both Fantasias weren't seen as anything spectacular, but have grown in their own right as time went on.
I've always liked both of them. There are some things that I love that I know our kids aren't a fan of. WALL-E is one of my absolute favorite movies.
Yeah.
Love WALL-E, and I know our kids are like, meh, and I'm like, okay, whatever. You guys suck.
So a lot of the information for this episode came from the book Disney War by James B. Stewart.
Oh, I know. That's literally one of the biggest books.
It's such a commitment
ever.
Because it's over 500 pages with
of the teeniest,
very small,
tiniest writing. Yeah.
And now normally, I did read a lot of it at work, and a lot of times if it's slow at work and I can read between the calls I'm taking, I can usually read 60 to 90 pages in a workday. This is one, even when I was able to read for lengths of time, I was getting 30 to 40 pages a day.
Yeah.
And I think that book took me about 4 months to read.
It was big.
And that was with reading it daily. And It's such a good book, but it's a commitment. And while a lot of the ideas in the book seem to be widely accepted, the book has also received some criticism as a secondhand source that purposely makes Eisner look bad.
I mean, I think Eisner made Eisner look
I
bad.
agree. And after Eisner had a chance to read the manuscript, he had called Stewart to make some revisions that would put him in a little more positive light. And while they were able to work through some things in the book, Stewart did have a deadline to get the book to the publishing company. And at one point during the conversation, when Stewart told Eisner it was too late to change anything else, Eisner stated that he would never speak to Stewart again.
Oh, I'm sure he lost sleep over it.
Yeah, right. But that's the very, very abridged history of Michael
Very
Eisner.
abridged.
What do you think?
I mean, we didn't even talk about him and his baby, Hollywood Studios.
Right.
I mean, yeah, super abridged. Don't get me wrong. I don't think everything he did was negative for the company by any means.
Not at all.
I think he approached Disney like more of just like a business. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he looked at it as just a company and a business, which I mean, I guess they needed at that moment in time. I think he probably stayed a couple years longer than he should have. Because, just by the end of it, it was time to go.
It was time for him to go.
But he did at least put some things into motion that I think, like, later Bob Iger was able to kind of come in and revise and turn into some better things.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. Like, he fixed the Fox family acquisition. He fixed that.
And, like, they've done more with, like, the Disneyland Paris, and they've done more with, obviously, Hollywood Studios has come a long way.
Yep.
And Eisner also did Hong Kong, didn't he?
Maybe.
I think he did.
I know Iger did Shanghai.
I want to say that, I don't know, we'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
Because I want to say Hong Kong had a really rough opening. Because, something with, I remember it's been a hot minute, but we talked about it. And, but yeah, so he laid some good foundation work, and it was just a business. I don't know, I guess people who are passionate about Disney just have such strong passion.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of heartbreaking to see someone run the company that doesn't have that passion.
Right.
And that's why it's like, love Bob Iger, because he had that passion for Disney. And then you see Bob Paycheck kind of falling into more...
Bob Paycheck.
Bob Paycheck. Chapek. Falling into more of like that Eisner kind of...
He's running the numbers.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out how just to make money.
Yeah, which like the, Genie Plus or whatever pass, which don't get me wrong, I'm still kind of think that would be like not all bad by any means.
And they're selling out.
Yeah.
I mean, when people are buying these like lightning passes and stuff that like where you basically have to pay for your fast pass now, they're selling out.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like to me it's just all about like the Genie Plus pass is just a mentality of how you look at it. Like to me it's just
it's a moneymaker.
Well, it's not even just a moneymaker. I just fully plan on looking at it as like adding that into the price of the ticket.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like the ticket prices went up a little bit. Like that's all I see it.
Yeah.
To me. But whatever. He's only been there for what? A year? Not even.
About a year.
About a year.
Point, because so Iger is retiring coming up here in a couple days. He's officially retiring. And initially, when he announced his retirement, he was gonna stay on as CEO until his contract was up. But then he decided to step down early, and that's when Bob Chapek took over. But then Iger stayed on the Disney board.
Yeah.
But he's like officially retiring. But there's a lot of analysts right now that are saying and predicting that because of the unhappiness with Chapek between inside the company, again, I don't work for Disney. I don't know what's actually going on inside the company.
Right.
This is pure speculation. But between fans being unhappy with what Chapek's done since he took over, and supposedly people inside the company not being happy since they took over, they're predicting in 2022 that Chapek will be ousted and Bob Iger is just going to come back and keep doing what he was doing.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'd be totally fine with
I
that.
nothing against Bob Chapek. I don't know him personally, but I'm just such a Bob Iger fan.
I just really like Bob Iger. And don't get me wrong, like, that makes me a little bit sad because I want this man to go off and enjoy his retirement.
Yeah.
But at the same point, like, I feel like they need to find the right person to
The right
replace
fit
him.
for it.
And I just Disney is just like Walt said, like, you know, you look back at Walt Disney himself, and even all the way back then when he started it, like Walt Disney was like, even said like he himself was not as good as what like Disney was.
Right.
Like Walt was not always the person that like Disney was.
Yeah.
Like the brand Disney.
Yeah, the Disney brand was bigger than Disney the man.
Yeah, like the Disney the brand was you know, better, more idealistic, was, you know, just more holistic than who even Walt himself was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is what Walt created, was just such a, you know, passionate brand.
Mm-hmm. And I think Bob Iger really understood that.
I think he did completely.
Because even in things now, like he just kind of looks at some of the things, like, you know, obviously Disney Plus came under Iger.
Yeah.
And Iger didn't just do it as a cash grab. He knew it was going to be a moneymaker, but he also presented it as, we're going to lose money on this in the first year because we're going to have to buy content back.
Yeah.
To put on the streaming service. So we're going to lose money the first year.
Yep.
But he didn't just look at it as, well, we're going to take this thing, we're going to sell it as a big premium. It was, this is something that is going to be good for the company. It's going to be good for the fans of the company.
But he could see long term.
He was looking at it long term, not just the quick part of it. And even now he's saying too, he's looking at it now that he's not had his hands in it. He's looking at it going, Disney Plus needs to work on getting more content. It needs to get more interest now, because now they're still doing stuff. They're still putting movies on there, new TV shows and stuff. But Iger's looking at it going, you still need more.
Well, yeah, kind of like you look at what, like Netflix.
Uh-huh.
I feel like Netflix has done a good job. A lot of those streaming companies have done a good job at doing, you know, the direct to that specific streaming service shows. And then you're like, great, now I need this streaming service just so I can watch this one show.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I mean, for us, Disney Plus is kind of an obvious thing.
Of course, yeah.
There's
no question.
Especially with COVID and everything, I mean, having Disney Plus honestly has been completely worth it just for
totally.
The streaming of like the new movies that have come out.
Yep.
So I absolutely love it, but I do get where Bob Iger's coming with that one. And
yeah.
But
well,
he's thinking ahead, and I like that.
And you even look at the way like Bob Iger like looks at the talent in the company. So obviously there was that big old skirmish between Disney and Scarlett Johansson over Black Widow.
Yeah.
Because she was upset that it didn't just get its exclusive theatrical release, and felt that putting it on Disney Plus essentially took money out of her pocket.
Which I understood.
I understood it. So she took Disney to court over it, and they eventually settled. They're all friends again.
Yeah.
You know, they're fine because they realize there's still money to be made with each other. So they settled. But even with that, Bob Iger was pretty much like to the point of like, how did you guys let it get so far that we're at a lawsuit? Like,
you know,
you should have been able to talk to her and
I was kind of surprised with that. Truly. Like, I agree with him there. I agree. I agree with him.
I mean, like,
I was surprised it got that far.
I was surprised it got that far. And, like, they threw shade at her, too. Like, when she was pretty much like, the fact that this wasn't an exclusive theatrical release, I can't believe it. Granted, you know, there's the flip side. COVID, all that stuff. Like, it did get a theatrical release, but I also get why they put it on Disney Plus for premiere access.
Oh, I think they should have put it on Disney Plus for
Agreed.
premiere access still. I completely
But they should have adjusted the deal then before they did it.
agreed.
But like straight up, the company made a statement about Scarlett Johansson. They're like, well, this just proves she's insensitive and doesn't take COVID seriously. And it's like, whoa,
wow.
You're not helping the situation. And so that's where I think like we've got a little bit of that like Eisner feel to it, where it's like
absolutely.
you're being stubborn and you want to win, whereas opposed to it's like, here's this actress who's done all these movies with you and knows she's not the star of the franchise, but she's also helped make money. Like, why aren't you just talking to her and working with her? Like, Iger would have done that.
I'm like, what? What did she want out of this? 20 million? I'm sure
something like that.
Compared
or she had already made 20 million and she just basically, I think to the effect of it was in the original deal, she was only getting money from the theatrical release and not from sales on Disney Plus.
Yeah, she wanted her cut from Disney Plus too.
Which I think Bob Iger would have had the forethought to be like, hey, your movie has already been delayed over a year because of COVID. Let's get it on Disney Plus, but let's rework your deal.
Yeah.
He would have had the forethought to get that reworked before they did it.
It wouldn't have even gone as far as it did, I feel like, with him.
Right.
So it is mind-blowing that it went that far. Yeah. I don't know. I don't see why. I don't feel like it has to be like, either they're good at business or they're good at having like that passion. I feel like
you can do both.
You can do both.
And we talked about it briefly in one of our episodes a little while back, where when Iger was doing his retirement speech, essentially.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that he was aiming it at Bob Chapek because he was like, don't just let the numbers determine how you do things.
Yeah.
And Bob Chapek is supposedly known as a numbers guy, and that's what he uses to dictate his decisions. And Iger saying, that's only part of it. There's so much more to it. Don't just look at that to make your decisions.
That's like the one thing that I'm like, I just don't understand, like, how he got, you go from Bob Iger to Chapek. I just don't. I don't get it. Like,
and I don't know. I mean, obviously, Iger, I'm sure, endorsed Chapek for this. I'm sure that there was.
I'm sure he
behind
had
the scenes
to have,
stuff, but
like, I don't see it.
And that's I think the hard part is like, from a fan's perspective. Again, like none of us are in the company.
Clearly,
we don't see what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But from our perspective, we're looking at it going, this wasn't what we had before. How did we get here? Like, what was not seen when we were picking him to be the next CEO?
Well, and I'm like, you can't tell me there aren't people with, passion coming out of, every orifice of their body
right.
in that company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. So, I'm interested to see, honestly. Would I like to see Iger come back? Obviously, because I'm a huge Iger fan. I like Bob Iger a lot.
He's just a good person.
He is, but I'm also just not holding my breath for it. I think this is all honestly just rumors, personally. That's not to say that I don't necessarily think there might be people internally who are like, let's get rid of Bob Chapek. I don't know. But he's also got a contract too, so we'll see what happens and where that all goes.
Doesn't always mean anything.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily, especially when you have the Eisner situation where the board is really pressuring you to just resign.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It's just, I don't know. Iger did a lot of good.
He did a lot of good. And I'm definitely going to cover too, obviously, like how he became CEO, what his background was.
Yeah.
So.
I know. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be good. But that's Michael Eisner. And
cool.
I'm excited to see what you got for me next week.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's it for this week's episode of Ashes and Will Do Disney.
Don't forget we need your mouse tales. If you have a funny, weird, exciting, or just a favorite Disney memory, send it to ashesandwiltdodisney@gmail.com so we can read them on the show.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Ashes and Will Do Disney. This is a public group to follow. We're also on YouTube at Ashes and Will Do Disney.
Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and have a magical day.